Whether you keep them in your home or love to see them in theirs, these are the creatures that bring us all together.
Reptiles. We're going to be delving into the experiences of reptile lovers from around the block and around the world. This is the Reptile Talk Podcast.
Boom! What is going on, everybody? This is Jeremy Turgeon from Brassman Reptiles.
And I'm Rob, and I'm creeping it real.
And for once, we started pretty much on time, but
yeah, we're right on it.
Usually I get a notification because Rob's like holding a worm snake in his backyard. So I'm getting a notification from Facebook that's like, you have 30 seconds to get this thing going before we remove it from Facebook.
True.
Oh man. But yeah, what's going on, Rob? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, honestly. I've been just trying to herp every single day that it's warm and not raining out. And then I've also been thinking that I probably need to go out when it's raining out too, so I can find salamanders or try and find copperheads, because I've still not found any copperheads.
It's okay, Rob.
So frustrating. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, Rob and I were just talking off camera that the worm snake is the garter snake of the South. So he has found a large number of worm snakes, which I think is cool because I still have not found any. I have not even had the chance to go out to herp yet. So I'm living vicariously through Rob. So I get very excited for every worm snake that you find.
I found ones from like this big up to like that big. So it's when I find a big one, I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And then every time I flip a rock, they're always like right near ants. So I'm always like, ants, worm snake, ants.
Not sure how much emotion to put into it. Just grab a handful of ants along with the worm snake.
No.
Yeah, it'd be a bad day.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, I'm super, super excited to be back. Feels like we're getting back into once a week routine, and I'm super stoked about that. Before we bring on our guest, I'm just going to throw this out there. Please, guys, make sure you are checking out USARK. You're following USARK, usark.org, and all of their stuff on social media. They now have an official YouTube channel, so you can check that out. I was trying to be able to get Phil onto the podcast, but his schedule tied in also with my schedule. Our travel dates conflict quite a bit for the next couple of weeks. So hopefully we'll get him on before the end of the month. Just get some general updates. In the meantime, if you want some more updates outside of what USARK is posting, always feel free to catch my Instagram lives on Sundays. I usually do some level of USARK update, then a rant about how we need to be doing more. So if you want to see me go off the rails, check out that. And now that is done, it's time to bring on our guest. I'm super, super stoked. We're talking with Dominique DiFalco from DiFalco Reptiles and the Modern Medusa podcast. Let's get her in here.
Hi.
What's going on?
How are you guys?
We're pretty good.
I always love this, I love the part where I'm like, oh my God, I haven't totally been talking to you for the last 15 minutes or texting all day. Like,
hi, yeah, you just showed up.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that's so weird about YouTube, because like of all the YouTube people that I've met, we always like meet up and hang out and talk for like an hour, and they're like, okay, I'm going to film coming in. And so you got to greet me like we haven't just been hanging out all day. And I'm like, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
So my thing was like, I've done a few podcasts, and I don't do my show live, but I do a few podcasts beforehand that have been live. And it's whenever I meet people at shows, and I'm like, oh my God, you're not just a torso. Like, what?
Oh man, you feel like they should also have like a microphone or something always by their face, just in some area.
yeah, you know.
Pretty much.
Oh my gosh.
Have you had any people at Expos call to you and like, oh my God, Modern Medusa? Has that happened yet?
I've had a couple people, and it's the weirdest thing in the world, and I don't like it because, like, it's very funny. So for people who don't know me, I'm Dominique DiFalco. I do the Modern Medusa podcast. And it's like, I say it's a newer podcast, but I've been doing it for a year now. It's just, I'm not very regular with it. I try my best, but life. But like, I have had people be like, I'm a huge fan. And I met one guy in particular at a local show a couple months back, and we were chatting, we were walking around the show together, and I like started a story and he finished it for me. And he's like, yeah, no, I know that. I was like, oh my God.
That's
like,
great.
That was super.
Yeah.
He was like, is that weird? And I was like, yeah, but no, but like, yeah.
I get people who come up to me and they're like, hey Rob, I got something I want you to show you. Like I listen to Reptile Talk all the time. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm like thinking they're gonna show me something cool, and they bring me over and they're like, hey, look at this Burmese python over here, and I'm like, get away from me. I hate you.
I need to know who those people are so I can hug them.
Rob, you got to be a little more cynical. Come on.
For real, I gotta do something, because these people. Did I send you the picture of the guy with the Burm shirt at the Raleigh show, Dominique? Did I send you that?
Mm-mm.
Oh, I need to send you that, because
I remember the guy. I remember that.
Oh my goodness. I'm not shaming anyone.
I was mad you were not attached to his hip for the rest of the show.
He had a shirt that had a Burmese python on it, and
python on it.
It was his python. He's like, yeah, that's my boy right there. That's my snake. And it said Burmese python, a real man snake on it. And I was like, excuse, that is Burmese python keeper behavior, but like I was not expecting it to be out in the wild. Like, come on.
So that is like, I think that's the in life equivalent to when I'm on a dating app and someone says like snake dad, and it's them with like a pastel ball python, and it's like, oh, shame. Like, but they'll be like, you have snakes? I love snakes. And I'm like, I don't think you like.
I don't think you understand. Like
I don't. Like,
you don't know. You don't know.
I mean, like, this is such an annoying flex of myself because I just think I'm cooler than I am. But like, one of my pictures on my dating profile is me with a Bolins, and like, if someone knows what that is, that's great. But people are like, oh my gosh, is that a berm? And I'm like, yeah. I mean, it's actually a rat snake.
Blocked and reported. That's exactly what happens after that.
Gardener snake.
A gardener. Yes. Yes. That's okay. I would probably welcome that more. On my old dating profile, I had a picture of me holding one of my big Brettles pythons, and in on my side of the rainbow over here, everyone's just like, "Oh, you got a big snake over there. That's pretty cool." I'm like, thanks guys, appreciate it.
We got lots of puns, yeah.
Yeah,
we're high.
Right. Not even an attempt to be like, oh, what kind of snake is that? It's just like, oh, it's big. Therefore, I have to make this joke. Tandem with the next picture was like me with a trumpet. And they're like, oh, so you
Oh my God. Come on, dude. You're setting yourself up.
I am. And it's so bad, but also really funny because all these people think they're the shit for saying these things. And I'm like, you're the 20th guy this week.
Yeah.
So not only are you so cool, but you're so hot. All these guys.
Not even like that. It's just like
I got you, dude. I know what you're saying.
That's too funny.
Oh man. No, now that you know a little bit about what our dating lives are like.
Oh my goodness.
So amazing.
I'm so glad I don't have to deal with that.
Dude, yeah, consider yourself lucky, man.
Yeah.
It's brutal. It's a bad way to live. Oh my God. So we have to talk about this just because they're one of our sponsors and they're amazing people. You have some awesome Blackbox cages, and I think they might be behind you.
So they're here. They're still lit up.
Hell yeah.
So if you're not listening to the audio, check out Blackbox on Instagram. They posted the picture of my cages, but I got 2 of their 18-inch cubes. And then I got specialty enclosure design perches for them and just like totally decked them out for my green trees. I've got 4 green tree pythons and 2 of my sub-adults are in those 18-inch cubes right now. Like 10 out of 10. I've been so happy with them. They don't sponsor me, so it's like this is off the cuff. Like I promise, I actually do. That I could like suddenly see me said one negative thing, and you're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Dominique dropped." So no.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. We don't know.
No, I've my collection has grown pretty significantly, and like I've only been in the hobby for about 3.5 years. So you know, I'm getting my feet wet and I have a decent collection for 3.5 years, and I've kind of gotten every cage you could just to see what it's like. Blackbox has like been the easiest to work with and like the fastest to arrive, and the pricing was great. So super happy. We'll definitely be ordering more. My first recommendation for anyone. And then also like I run a podcast for women in herpeticulture. It's a woman-owned business. Highly recommend. Like, yeah, would just say it's great. And I've been loving it. I've had them for like a month or so now, all set up.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. I love going down into my snake room and just like staring at my black boxes, especially when it's cool. It must be cooler for you because you've got the green trees. So they're usually like out perched doing their thing.
Yeah.
I have to wait for the right time of day for the Amazons to actually clear.
Yeah.
But then when it happens, I'm like, oh yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah, no, I had these 2 in tub setups, and then I had them in a rack, and like it got to the point where I graduated college, I got a job, I had a little like of wiggle room money wise, and I was like, why do I have green tree pythons if I can't see them? They are literally the perfect display snake for a reason. Like you need to have them out. So it was a good choice for me for sure.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. So shout out to Blackbox Cages for sure. Also, shout out to Natalie's Reptiles, who is here in the YouTube chat. Thank you for the super chat. She said, I had a pic of me with my bull snake, and someone said, "Why are you holding a rattlesnake?" Yes. Yeah. It happens.
Well, that's like I feel like my grandma does that. Like I love my grandma. She's my biggest supporter. She calls whenever I call. She goes, "Oh, Dominique, how are the critters?" And the critters. And then she specifically asks, "How is Trash?" Because Trash is my gargoyle gecko from Chris Painjab with Badlands Herpeticulture. His name is Trash because I made a joke about him producing trash geckos, and it just kind of stuck. Like, so if anyone like were to hear just one side of my grandma's conversation, it goes like this: "Hello, Dominique. How are the critters? And Trash? Good." And that's like that's what you hear. But sometimes she'll be like, "Is that one venomous? Is that one poisonous?" I'm like, "No, don't worry, don't worry."
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah. I'm not endangering my life. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Well, not this time. Not at least not with the snakes, you know.
Fair enough. Oh man, that's epic. My grandfather, before he passed away, he used to always ask me about the big snakes. He always loved the big snakes, whether it be a worm, a boa, or a tick, whatever. And we'd be on the phone for 20 minutes, and then he would like abruptly change the conversation to how are those giant snakes. I used to have a big red tail boa named Envy. How's Envy doing? She's doing all right.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Doing all right. Yeah, she's pretty big. Yes.
Yeah.
My favorite thing is I have an aunt who's developmentally disabled, and she lives in a group home just outside Chicago. So I'm in Cincinnati, so we try to see her a few times a year. And with COVID, obviously that was really difficult, especially with her living in a facility. Like we wanted to be really safe, right? So Christmas 2019, she came down to Cincinnati and she held one of my ball pythons. And we went to a cat cafe together, right?
Cool.
So my aunt, like, and this is 3 years ago now. My aunt like can't remember our names, or like doesn't really like understand a lot of stuff that going on, but like every time I talk to her on the phone, she remembers the name of the cat she held at the cat cafe, and she reminds me that she's not afraid of snakes and she wants to hold it again. And I think that's like such a special thing that we can have with our family members. Like, and I know, like, Jeremy, I'm so sorry about your grandfather passing. I was really saddened to hear that, but like, how awesome, you know, that you could call him and talk about that, and I can call my grandma and talk about it. And it's just like such a cool like thing to have.
Absolutely. Yeah. I even think to it now, like talking whenever I talk with my mom or whatever, you know, now that I'm in North Carolina, and she's like, man, you know, I never thought I would miss snakes. And now that spare room is empty. There's no snakes in there.
Well, I think that's the perfect time to get her one, you know?
I'm like, come on, if you want, I can just send you one. You know, I've got 100.
I know a guy.
Yeah, I can let one of them go. You know, it's like, no, that's okay. That's okay. It's different in the house now.
So when I first got into snakes at all, I was still in college. And I had a roommate that wouldn't allow snakes in the house, and like totally respect it. So I wasn't going to get a snake, but basically I convinced my mom to let me get a green tree and keep it in her apartment or keep it in her condo. And then I went on study abroad for 2 months and like was like, good luck with this Neo. Well, it wasn't a Neo, it was like a year-old green tree. And I had someone come down once a week to clean and feed and do all that stuff. And she called me like when I came back from study abroad and I took the snake back and everything. She's like, I kind of miss it. And I was like, well, I can get more. Like, don't worry. You want you know, I totally can.
Yeah, don't worry. I got the hookups. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes I wish I could be like, can you just take one for just a couple weeks? Like, it keeps pooping. Like, let's just.
See, that's what you get. You get to send somebody like a Crebo or something like that. That's just like the poop factory.
Oh my gosh.
It's just, I just need a moment. Can you just watch it for a week? I just need some downtime.
I held a Crebo for the first time a couple weeks ago, and oh boy, do I want one of those. Oh my god,
they're awesome.
It's so cool.
Awesome. Yeah, they do like to paint with their poop though. That's
you know, my cat poops on my bed, so I feel like I can live with it in the box.
Unacceptable.
Yeah, my cat like is so in charge of my household that before we started, I had to make sure I ran into the bedroom and turned on the heating pad for her, because she likes to sleep on it and it's got a timer.
We're so accommodating.
So back to me being chronically single. If you can't, you know.
Oh god.
Oh my god.
Oh man. All right. Before we continue, shout out to excuse me, Christina Hill. Love Dom and all that you do for us female herpers. What are your thoughts on preparing our collections if we pass?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Christina, hi. It's good to see you or see you, whatever, you know. Thanks for joining. I've talked about this in the female herpers group before, so that's probably why she's asking. So a couple of years ago, unfortunately, the green tree python community lost a really great guy named Justin Wilbanks. And, you know, like when someone passes, especially someone who maybe doesn't have family that understands the hobby as much, like it can be really hard to deal with all of that. So the guys over at the Herpetoculture magazine made a really, really great, like essentially like a step-by-step guide of like what to follow if like you were to pass and your collection is still around, right? So I keep it personally in my collection. I have a paper that says like the animal, who it was purchased from, the species, how much I paid for it, and like yada, yada, yada. And then I break that down farther into like if something happens, like who it goes to or who's in charge of like selling it off. And then I also do have like a do not sell list, essentially. So like, you know, I don't like this guy named Jeremy. He's kind of creepy. He has a podcast. He's got that big snake, you know. But basically, it's like a, you know, it's like a prep thing. And it's horrible to think about, but it could happen to anyone. So having that in my collection, like within my personal like safety files, and it just says like Matt Burton's in charge of all the ball pythons, so-and-so's in charge of all the Morelia, and then like here's the cages and who you can ask to sell those. And so that's what I have. And you know, it's important to, I think it's important to prepare, just like we have safety preparations in case of a fire, in case of a natural disaster. It's just a disaster of another kind.
Very true. Yeah, it's very true. And I certainly think that's something that doesn't get talked about really at all very often.
Yeah. I'm going to see if I can find the paper to send you guys so you can throw it in the chat or something.
Heck yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Heck yeah. So I know one of the things that we had discussed that we wanted to talk about tonight, which I think is great because Rob and I talked about it before, but it's certainly always very prevalent, especially in today's climate, is burnout in the industry and how to handle that mental health and just being aware of being able to recognize it, how to handle it, So it was funny because Keith McPeak had commented on the post on Facebook and he was like, old school herpers never die. They just keep less and enjoy more. And I'm like, I certainly do agree with you, Keith. I was like, but I don't think we're just talking about, the amount of animals that we keep. Because I'm like, I know for me, whether I had 20 animals or many hundreds of animals, being in the reptile room was the highlight.
Yeah.
Certainly maintenance can be a little tiresome, but being in that room was the highlight. So Dominique, what are some forms of burnout either that you've either experienced or that you've had conversations with other people that are going through?
Yeah. So this is something that's like, I'm very passionate about. I'm like, personally, I speak out about it pretty often. It's like I struggle with my own mental health issues. And so I think that that's a common thread with a lot of people in the reptile industry, or maybe just like people who are kind of in these like quote unquote weirder hobbies. We have a tendency to pick something up that like maybe we can throw our emotions towards instead of like looking internally, which is, how we go to therapy and shit. I guess like for me, there's definitely been times that you kind of recognize like when you're not getting the energy from walking in the room, or you think, oh my God, like I can leave that poop there for a day. And you know what? Like doing that every now and then isn't the end of the world. I don't think that like is necessarily like an indication of being a bad keeper or something. But when it gets to the point that like you're doing other things to like avoid doing stuff with your animals and such, it can be like a really good indication. So for me personally, like I love my animals. I have a small collection because I know that like with some depression issues, like some days are harder than others to like do basic tasks. And like when your hobby is also a chore, like as much as we don't want to say it is, all we've done is created something else for us to clean in our houses. And I can almost guarantee that you guys have something else in your house you avoid cleaning. And sometimes that turns out into the snakes, right? And I think that can be a huge thing. But then something else that I've realized, and that I'm sure like I'd love for your guys' perspective on this too, is that burnout when it comes to the animals is one thing, but it's burnout when it comes to the hobby that's something else. And like I said, I'm only 3 years in, but like I'm fairly involved in the hobby. I run a large Facebook group. I'm involved in other groups. I have a lot of friends. We talk all the time. Like sometimes even just always doing that every single day can like lead to burnout because you don't like kind of let your mind shut off. And so for me particularly, like something that made me think about this more recently is the podcast, right? So I have my Modern Medusa podcast. I absolutely love it. It's like such a passion project for me. And I can record it so well, right? But then I can't edit it. And I can't sit down and do that part. I can't sit down and like put together the graphics and then you get to the point where you're like, oh my God, I haven't put out an episode in 3 weeks. Like no one's going to listen. Everyone's going to be so mad at me. Like they're not going to ever want to listen again. Like then you worry about your sponsor and like all of that stuff. Right. And so I think we can kind of like spiral. And so that's like where the burnout for me comes in. And then like how I handle it is like getting help, I think that you just have to like talk to your friends or like talk to other people who maybe do understand it. So like, for example, I've recorded 8 episodes of the podcast. I recorded 8 episodes back in November. I couldn't edit any of them. Seasonal depression. I changed jobs. All that stuff was kind of going on. And then I was like so worried, like, well, what if they suck? you know, and I haven't listened back to them. They don't, by the way. I was like super proud of them. But I found someone on Facebook who I paid to edit. And I said, listen, you're not going to know what they're talking about. I need you to take out the awkward pauses. I need you to take out the ums. And then I can listen through to a more finished product and do it myself. And so I think like making those accommodations for ourselves is so important, but also recognizing when like general burnout is maybe different from depression. So my therapist does a really good job talking about it on her social channels, where it's like burnout is usually like time sensitive around a certain topic, whereas your depression is like all encompassing, you know? So like realize when it's an issue with just doing the snakes versus when it's an issue of getting out of bed, you know, those kinds of things. And I think that being more open to having conversations and admitting that like, as much as I love my animals, sometimes I don't have the energy to clean, or I don't have the energy to finish, to clean all the water bowls. So they just get topped off. Like starting to say those things out loud and admitting that we all do it can help like newer keepers or people who maybe haven't experienced this before, like feel more comfortable and more confident to like maintain their collection and stay in the hobby longer.
Yeah, and I literally saw a TikTok the other day that was talking about burnout, and it was just talking about like general burnout, but it was like, you know, the effect of burnout on the body can take between 3 and 5 years to fully recover from. And like, what? That's it, because people think, oh, once I do the thing, then everything's cool. Everything is just back to normal. And it's like, no, it's a process. It takes time. Like I got so burned out on Facebook groups because like you'd get on there and I've been breeding stuff for how many years now, and I produce so many different species. I post something on there, and then somebody who's got one snake is like, oh, you're doing this wrong. And I'm like, what?
Is Wayne going to have to slap a bit?
Like, I'm like, okay, you must know better than me. Okay, I've got a half full incubator right now. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, I guess. But like, you know, it just really got to me at one point because like I was just like, man, I've got this huge amount of resources that I can help people, or you try to help people and then they tell you that you're wrong, and it's like, okay, well, fuck me, I guess. Like, well, I guess I've got no valuable information for you. I've only been doing this for so long. I've only seen what exactly is happening to your snake happen to 20 other people before you. There's no way I could possibly help you out. And I just got so burned out on that. And I just like, I stepped back from every Facebook group I was in for like 3 years, something like that, 4 years. I was just like so over it. And then the last like maybe 8 months or 10 months, I've been trying to post more in the blood python group because I just like bloods and short tails, and I've got some really cool ones. So I'm like, I'll post in there. And I usually don't even say anything. Like I'll post something, a picture of a snake, and then like a quick little caption. That's it. I just leave it at that because like just getting into it with people is too much for me. Yeah. I just can't handle it.
Oh, 1,000%. And I think like one of the things too, and this isn't a dig at you, Rob, so I hope you don't take it that way, is that
Rob does most things wrong. So
yeah, it's true, obviously.
You ever had somebody watch you and like you can do something 100 times, but then as soon as they watch you do it, you mess it up 100 times? That's limey. Limey is like he watched me do something and I mess it up.
That's like me when my boss is like, can you pull up that Excel spreadsheet and share? And I'm like, no, I cannot. Oh,
yeah.
and I love you. You're the best. No, but what I was gonna say is I think like one of the things too that we have to recognize, regardless of who you are, there is such an element of pride associated with working with reptiles, right? Like, even if you're not generally like a prideful person, we're proud of the work we do. And I think that sometimes those little digs or those comments can be such a hit to the pride, and like that can tear you down, and that can be so overwhelming, especially like when we're living in a space where comments are everywhere. Like anyone can get in touch with you and anyone can say whatever the hell they want to you. Like, I made the mistake a couple months ago, and I shouldn't have done this. I went back to a podcast I was on, and I read the comments.
Ooh,
and they were
no, don't do that.
I know, and they were shitty. And I'm sitting here thinking, no matter like 100 positive things anyone said to me, that one negative, that's what I'm remembering, right? And so then that's like it's planting those seeds of doubt like over and over and over again. And it's not even when someone just says something to you, but it's seeing someone do something different and maybe be more successful, or maybe seeing that person who did just buy 2 new animals, put them together, and managed to get a stellar clutch. And it kind of like dings you where you're like, what the hell? I've been working on this so hard, like, and I think it's that constant barrage of those little things that can happen. That's why like you don't wake up burnt out one day, like you simmer for a little bit. And then suddenly like, it's not until you're like pretty far into the burnout that you notice it's happening. And it's not just with the animals, it's like life,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. It's just crazy because like I don't know, like when I think about like all the Facebook stuff, it's like that's one thing, but I've got a lot of friends in the reptile hobby, and I barely even like reach out and talk to people just because I'm just like, I don't know, I feel like keeping up with it all the time is just, my brain's too scatterbrained to stay up with all that stuff. And it's like, these people probably would like to hear from me, and I love them endlessly, but sometimes I'm just like, man, I don't know if I can do this right now.
Yeah,
and it's 100% on me. It's got nothing to do with them. It's just like, me.
I think it's important to note too that everything that we do, especially for those of us that are involved heavily in some level of social media and everything too, where every level of this that we stack on for ourselves is another job.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean this just like, like a task to put on the to-do list. I mean, if you're like invested in social media, you're invested in your collection, like all those things, those add up to another job. I mean, think about it. How many, celebrities, let's forget about the reptile realm for a second. How many celebrities, like they have a PR person whose job is to manage their social media and do all of that for them, because that person doesn't have the time of day, because they have everything else on their plate going on, you tack other things into life that might be going on for that person. And it adds up really fast. And then just like you were saying, Dominique, before you know it, you're like, wow, like I'm just not into it. And you start to realize like, crap, I'm just burnt out, whether it be from life or, whatever. But it's really easy to get into those situations. And like, I know personally, I don't pay attention to too much social media stuff outside of what I have happening for my own profiles and whatever. And I try to respond to comments and messages as they pop in. But I think one of the greatest things that I did for myself over the last couple of weeks was utilize that do not disturb feature on my
Yes. I love that.
Yeah, just to be able to shut that off and was like, you know what? I'm only going to look at my phone when I feel like I'm ready to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And having that moment of clarity, and then realizing like, yeah, you know what? There's 15 messages that I need to look at, but that's fine. It's okay. I don't need to pay attention to that right now. I have something else that I need to be doing, or I just need to unplug for a moment. And I think being aware of that is also very, very important for your sanity.
Yeah. And you're so right. And it's like the amount, by the way, I'm taking notes like a total dweeb, but I am taking notes.
Absolutely do it. And also really big shout out to Joe Rosa for the super chat. Thank you very much, sir.
Joe, listen, you're my attention.
You off, so maybe
I'm not responding to your text messages.
Put you on do not disturb, Joe.
Yeah. Hello, Joe. Good to hear from you as always. No, I think it. I mean, and I'm gonna turn this back to me because I'm in charge. Like you talk about like every little thing you do adds up. Every interaction you have leads to like some expectation of other things, right? And it can get so hard to like start to say no.
Yes.
And like a really great example for like something that I literally last week I stepped down from being the intake coordinator for the reptile rescue I've worked with for almost 4 years. And it was like such a gut-wrenching, like horribly hard decision to make. But I had to recognize that every single time I was getting an email, every single time I was getting a phone call, like I was getting anxious. I was getting frustrated, and I was starting to get like really angry, like at people trying to give up their animals, which is like totally the wrong mindset to have, right? I should be going into this like happy that people are looking at the correct way to like get their animals into the correct homes. But like I was totally having those negative emotions to it. And that's kind of like where the burnout comes out. You know, it's like, oh my God, like I'm getting so burnt out. It's negatively affecting me. It's negatively affecting the rescue because I'm not responding fast enough. Maybe I'm not being as helpful as I should. But like that can come up in so many ways. Like our Facebook group, the women's group I run, it's over 11,000 members now, which is insane, right? I had to like stop for a moment and like tell my admin team I have to get Facebook off my phone. And I think that's where we kind of go back to the conversation that I was saying earlier, that like it's so important to surround yourself with a village who's going to support you. Because someone made a joke in the comments, and like I totally get it. Like it turns into a people hating club, like not a reptile loving club, and I totally get it. But also some of the friendships I've made within the reptile hobby with people maybe I've never met before, like are some of the best friendships I've ever had, you know, and like knowing when to turn to those people and ask for advice and get the help you need from them is just like so important.
For sure.
And Joe, that's a hilariously like bizarre comment.
poor guy was struggling on super chat, so I'm like, just say what you want to say, man. I'll highlight. Those of you who are not watching YouTube, Joe's comment was, if we could bottle Rob's smile, I would drink it like coffee and never burn out. So Rob, watch your face, I guess.
If you guys don't know Joe, he rocks. He's I think I mentioned it earlier, he's a good friend and a great supporter and just like kicks ass. So super cool Morelia too.
And he drinks people's faces like
heck
coffee.
Yeah.
Jay Hill Jr., I will never say your last name because I will totally destroy it. But says, love the conversation. Mental health is so important. Remember to hit that like button. That's right. Thank you so much. I appreciate the constant support. Yes, hit that like button. Absolutely. Yeah, I think this is from me, if I think about my own personal experiences with burnout, I've always been the person that throws as many things onto his plate as possible. I mean, from an obnoxiously large collection of reptiles to being a full-time musician, and before I moved to New Hampshire, working as a teacher and dabs all around.
I was coughing.
I know. I saw you muted yourself. I was just like, it's funny.
That was perfect. But then doing social media and all those other avenues constantly in meetings. I've been on various boards for different organizations and all those things, and I've always been that person that will work themselves to the point of getting physically sick, and then I'm taken out for X period of time, and then I feel even worse, so having the ability to acknowledge it and then be able to tell people, as much as it might suck in that moment, like, no, I cannot commit to something else. Or I was saying, turning on that do not disturb thing on my phone, and taking those moments, I'd hate sitting idly, so I'm always the person who's like, okay, I got something to do. I got to be doing this. I got to be doing that. Or, as I was growing up, especially as I was like first playing trumpet and stuff, it was like every free moment I need to be playing my horn. I need to be getting better on my instrument and all this stuff. So it was always like, go, 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 go. And as I've gotten older, it's definitely been like, okay, hey, you know what? It's okay to, sit on the deck with a cup of coffee in the morning and like not look at your phone and just enjoy starting your day off that way. And then, then you dive into your insanity for the day. But, even taking some time at the end of the day, maybe to scroll through social media, but not worry about paying attention to what people are saying or comments that people are leaving on your own stuff, but to enjoy social media for what it's actually intended for, which is like nonsense and hilarity, you know, or at least that's what it's supposed to be for. You know, taking those moments for self winding down time, you know, Limey, shut the hell up.
Oh, apparently that wasn't personal at all, was it, Jeremy?
I mean, you would be that guy. I love you so much, dude. But you know, like I definitely feel like it takes a lot of effort, especially when you've never done it before, to be able to recognize those things for yourself of when you notice you're not working at 100% and being able to identify, you know, not necessarily the exact reason, but, you know, start peeking through that door of being like, okay, you know, I might not be doing everything I need to do, and the energy is just not there. So what's going on? How many things am I trying to work on simultaneously? And is there anything that I can maybe table for a little bit, or you know, if there's something that you can delegate off to somebody else, especially if you're, you know, if it's a work related thing and you're on a team, you know, like I just did that with the board of directors for the Carolina Herp Society. We're you know, we're trying to lock in the place for our first open public meeting, and you know, Rob and I were shooting some ideas back and forth, and I was like, I just don't have the time, you know, right now to lock this in. So I just threw it in the group chat. I was like, hey, I'm going to delegate this to any one of you guys on the board to make this phone call and figure out if we can make it work. And, you know, we need to know by the end of the week. And they haven't sent a message. So I gotta send an angry message to them all. But
I think that's like, I would also say that's probably one of the biggest things in the last few years that I've learned about myself is like the ability to delegate. And it's not only the delegation, it's the trusting it'll get done. And even if it's not the way you'll do it, let them do it how they'll do it.
yes,
It's off your plate.
yeah.
But it could be so easy to like delegate and then put more energy into it by micromanaging. And then you end up managing the person. They don't do it to your standards, quote unquote. And then you have to agree to it. And then like it's double the stress, double the anxiety. And now you just pissed off more people, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So knowing that boundary, absolutely. And that's where I think, you know, stuff like understanding deadlines and stuff, or like having an agreement of when, you know, if you're going to delegate that, like making sure they know, hey, we need an answer by this time. So then you can let them do their thing, but then, you know, if you haven't heard back from so-and-so by this day, you know, at least check in and be like, hey, you know, where are we at with this? You know, it's, you know, my old boss at the music school I worked at was like, we're going to circle back in a few days. That's what you always used to say. We'll circle back to this.
That's a very corporate term.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, but then it allowed everybody to also feel like, okay, I have my task. I know what I need to do. I can do it. I have this amount of time. And then, you know, I can bring whatever the results are back to the table. And yeah, you're right. If you do it correctly, the stress is off the table. But yeah, if you're that person where it's like, it's hard to let it totally go, then yeah, it can certainly become a bigger mess. That's one of the reasons why I will never hire an employee to work for me. If I can't manage it myself, I've got too much and I need to downsize, but I know how I want it done. And I'm sorry, I don't trust people to touch my animals.
Yeah. I never have people, come help me. But if someone's here and they want to hold a snake, perfect opportunity for me to clean a cage. Yeah, hold that, you know. Yeah. But then like, again, oh my gosh. Okay. Christina literally just brought it up. So she asked,
I just saw it. I'm like, oh, we're pretty much into this.
She basically said thoughts on building a trusted team of people that can do reptile care, like parents' night out with daycare groups. I'm not a parent, but I do have like a couple people in the area that like I'll call my friend Jen Vogel of Jen Eric Reptiles. Yep. She rocks. She's a really good friend of mine. And I know she's got a huge collection. And so sometimes I'll say, hey, like I'm free Saturday morning. Do you want me to bring over coffee and let's knock out water bowls? You know, and it's like knowing that like she's got a lot on her plate. I want to hang out with my friend. Let's like make it, you know, a thing where we can help each other out. I think it's awesome. I mean, I trust the people who come into my animal room. I trust my friends, and I think building that trusted team of people that like could do reptile care like kind of goes back to the like, what happens if you pass away? Like, what happens if like you're in an accident and you can't take care of your reptiles? Like, who are you going to call? It's so important to have those people in your corner.
Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, Rob is 2 hours away, so my corner is very distant. But
we have cars. You're fine.
This is true. No, I will 100% agree with that though, because like the couple weeks ago being away in New England, I was gone for a week and a half. So luckily, my roommate Lenny is also a reptile guy, and I've known him for many, many, many years. And I was like, hey, look, I'm going to take care of everything before I go, but halfway through the week, can you at least just go check water bowls? Mm-hmm. Just make sure everybody's got water. And if there's poop that's really gross, I know you can take care of that. But for the most part, it's like water is the most important thing. And then, we'll be good, and I'll just take care of it when I come back. So definitely having at least one person, that can come in and do whatever maybe small, meaningless or a mediocre task, that's actually very important. But in the day-to-day grind is like, I'll get to it when I get to it. Like is a weight off your shoulder. Jesus, Limey is tonight. Dude, it's a good thing I like you old bastard.
Too funny.
Oh gosh, we don't talk about Limey's mental health because it's his entire health that's the problem. So.
Feel like I shouldn't comment. I don't know the guy.
Comment. Just comment.
I can't wait for you to meet him. Is the
I feel like I don't want to.
Limey is one of the greatest people I think I've ever met. Rob and I both known him since we were kids. Really, the old British curmudgeon.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, he's not just being mean for no reason. It's because he's British.
Yeah,
British.
no.
Yeah.
I'd be pretty sad if I lost all the wars too. But
he's like, I live in the U.S. now, so I'm on your side. What are you talking about?
I heard. Limey, I heard you shaved your head, and I heard you scared a whole bunch of teenagers because they I heard it was pretty bad. You should double check your barber.
One time I shaved half my head, and then I realized I was in a manic episode. So mental health is important.
Very important.
Limey, do you have? Oh gosh, that's funny. Okay, I want to take a quick pause just to run our sponsor ads because I didn't realize we were over 45 minutes in. So I'm going to run that really quick, and we will be back in about 2 minutes. Blackbox Cages, located in Buford, Georgia, is your one-stop shop for all of your caging and rack needs. Owners Jen and Clint are at the helm of this fantastic company. With one of the shortest lead times in cage and rack manufacturing, Blackbox can satisfy anyone's needs. From baby racks to V70s, arboreal and terrestrial caging to deep-fronted bioactive enclosures. You can find everything you need right here. New enclosure sizes and products are added frequently to their availability, so be sure to check back often. Blackbox cages have tons of customizing options for lighting and heating. Along with that, cages and racks can be stacked with metal stacking dowels, and all cage joints are dadoed for improved durability and stability. Most cage units are flat packed, but are pre-assembled prior to shipping to ensure a solid build every time. The Micro, XC18, XT3, Bio-G, and 3-stack V70 ship assembled, and all other racks are shipped freight and assembled. The XR16 and XR20 model racks allow keepers to mix and match tubs. Fitting both Vision and Freedom Breeder tubs, you can mix the V15, V18, and V35S tubs, or the FB5, FB8, and FB35CV SC tubs. This kind of flexibility allows keepers to raise their animals from hatchling to juvenile or subadult size before needing to upgrade into adult caging. Don't just take our word for it. Go to their website to see countless customer reviews and review videos from keepers all over. To learn more about Blackbox Cages, follow them on Facebook and Instagram at Blackbox Cages, and of course their website, www.blackboxcages.com. The Show Me Reptiles and Exotic shows are taking the country by storm. Dedicated to education, quality, and engagement, you can expect a wonderful experience at a Show Me show, be it an expo or an educational event. Founders Mickey and Tamara are working tirelessly to not only create memorable expos and educational events, but also to engage in conservation efforts and industry preservation. They are proud USARK supporters and do a lot to ensure that they spread the word at every show. Find a Show Me Snakes show near you. Shows are hosted in 19 states, from Rhode Island to Florida, Colorado to Texas. There's sure to be one near you. The Show Me show territory is ever growing, so if there isn't one by you just yet, hang tight. To find out more info about the Show Me shows, to book an educational event, or just to learn more in general, make sure you check out their website, showmesnakes.com. All of the links to their socials and, of course, their website will be available in the podcast description. Boom. So shout out to both of our sponsors, Blackbox Cages, who we talked about earlier, and Mickey and Tamara from the Show Me Snakes shows. If you don't have a Show Me show in your area, hopefully you will get one soon, because it's so worth going to and just enjoying. And just a massive shout out to Mickey and his entire team for really raising the bar and hosting a lot of wonderful auctions for USARK that have been bringing in some great large amounts of money. We usually don't see it at the smaller shows. I love seeing those updates from him after some of those shows. That really is wonderful. So if you have a Show Me show in your area, please go out and support them as they continue to just better themselves and enhance every bit of their experience that they're bringing to the table. So bam, that's my spiel on that. Business is done.
Such a salesman.
Yeah, Jeremy, you glitched there for a second.
Oh, I did. Oh,
yeah.
Did I do the robot?
Yeah, a little
Yes.
bit.
A little bit. Oh, well, no, just go.
You can stick to the music. We don't need any improv, you know.
Good. That's why I didn't go to school for dance. That's oh my gosh. No, just go out and show your support for the Show Me Reptile shows. They're doing a lot of great stuff for both the vendors and patrons, as well as just the hobby in general. So make sure that we're supporting them. If you've got a show in your area, go and check it out. And if you don't, get in your car and drive to one of them shows. Just do it.
I drove to a Show Me show. I think that's the one it was in Louisville. Drove a hour and a half. Went to see my good friend Ryan Cox. Went to the Show Me show, and like hilariously, there was a children's cheer tournament occurring in the same convention center. And so it was like every random snake man from like big burly, like, you know, the guys we see at shows, and then like children in cheer uniforms, and like the kids came into the show and they were like looking at the animals and like totally into it because they were in that age where they're not afraid yet, you know what I mean? Whereas parents were like, it's okay. You want to come back here and do your little dance? Of course, we're encouraging it. You know, anytime I see a younger girl at shows, I'm like, yes.
Right. Right. Hold this. Just hold this. It'll change your life.
It's fine.
Oh, man. Shout out to Natalie's Reptiles again for the super chat. Come out to a Midwest Expo. You know I'm always loud, and we have a USARK table and auction, which I run. Yes, Natalie has been absolutely crushing it, supporting USARK at her local shows. So shout out to Natalie. Yeah, I would definitely want to come out to a Midwest show, and we'll see how we can be in competition with each other and who can be louder for you, Ark.
I really, really, really want to hit Midwest Venomfest, but I'm like, it's too dangerous for me to go right now because I can't have Venomous. So I know that if I go there, I'm going to be like, well. So I'm just like, I'm not going to go. I'm going to wait till next year, and then hopefully I'll be in a different county. So
there you go. That's fair. I mean, hey, luckily you've got everything in racks. So you'd be like, if you can find it, you can confiscate. Pick your poison.
I'm writing down something to tell you off air.
Oh,
okay.
Remind me.
Dude,
not me, someone else.
Oh,
Bruh. I'm jealous that you get to go to the Vogels place because they look like they have some incredible animals.
Yeah, they do. They really do. It's been a really nice friendship to have with Jen. I know Eric as well, but Jen and I definitely are better friends than Eric and myself. But yeah, it's cool. I've been incredibly fortunate. And I think this kind of goes back to earlier, like building that community. I have been so fortunate to see some really phenomenal collections like around the country and around the world. I'm going to Europe in May, and fingers crossed, I've got a cool collection out there I'm hoping to see. And I think and it's so easy to just not be a dick online and make friends. I'm just gonna put it out there.
Yeah, it is.
Like if you're just generally not a horrible person and you respectfully send them a message saying, I want to come see your animals, it's worked a lot for me. Maybe I have some sort of, I don't know, maybe I'm lucky, but I've seen some cool stuff. I spent some time this summer at Anthony Pierleone's. If you don't know Anthony, he's turtle guy to the max. And then I saw Andy Middleton's stuff, James Opdahl's incredible collection, just cool stuff.
Hell yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. These people, who've got these incredible collections. When you go to expos, people are always like, oh, I love going to expos because you get to finally get a chance to nerd out with people who are into the same thing that you are. And when you have someone come check out your collection, it's finally you get to show off some of the stuff that you got that you only bring certain things to the show. So when you got your holdbacks and this little project over here and this little thing over here, it's cool to share that with people.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to be good friends with a couple of the zookeepers at the Cincinnati Zoo, in the reptile house. So sometimes I can, if I have a friend who hasn't been there before, I can text Jenna and be like, hey, do you mind if we see the Galapagos tortoises or whatever? I brought my cousin a couple months ago to see the Galaps, and I was talking with Ryan Dumas at the time. And we were talking herps and yada yada yada. But the thing is you get so in the zone of talking herps, you forget about other things going on. And so I hear, oh, excuse me, and it's my cousin totally backed into a corner, she has no more celery. There's 4 Galops around her,
The chances of being killed by a Galapagos are very low,
but not zero. But that's exactly how it is when you have when you tour someone's collection. You're oh, it's been 4.5 hours talking about turtles. We should probably go.
Yeah, right. That's funny. Shout out to Natalie's Reptiles again. You're my inspiration for being loud. I harness my inner Jeremy. Perfect. I'm glad I can be that person you gather your inspiration from. Oh gosh, too funny. But yeah, I can't tell you how many times over the years just going to somebody's collection and then you're like, oh my god, the day is over.
I know.
And
then you're driving home and you forget that one obscure question about that random animal you mentioned for 37 seconds.
Right.
When we went to see Anthony Pierleone stuff, and he's one of those people you have to say their full name. I don't know why, but he's Anthony Pierleone. And also Andy Middleton is also a full namer for me.
Yeah.
But for weeks, Andy was talking about this one specific thing we saw, and I'm like, dude, I was there too. I wasn't as into that, but if you want to keep asking questions, go ahead.
Oh man, I think that's probably the best / worst when you're trying to think about time parts of the industry, is that there's so much, and everybody keeps, for the most part, everybody keeps something that's a little different from the next person, so you can always nerd out about something or learn something and waste a day at the same time.
Yeah, it's, oh my gosh, yeah, but it's like the best, and I think that's why I love the shows so much. Like, Daytona is one of my favorite weekends of the entire year, and it's because I get to talk about just snakes or not snakes, like, because oftentimes we don't talk, we just like catch up with your friends, but like, it's, you don't feel guilty about doing it, like you're not wasting, most people don't bring like their significant others, which is, I think is beneficial, like especially if your significant other isn't in the hobby, like because you don't have to worry about like boring them with it, because I feel like sometimes I've gone to people's houses and like their significant others like, you guys are still talking? And I'm like, I'm sorry. But it's just like the community you build around it keeps me going. As much as I love the animals, I know that I could sell my animals and have like a really great life. But if I like dropped all my reptile friends, like it'd be a significant detractor in what's going on right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm so pumped for Daytona. I don't think I know you understand. I'm so excited though.
I'm not gonna lie though, like Rob, seeing you for the first time in person, and watching just like the whitest streak like running past me, you're like, you have this white shirt and you take it off and you just dropping clothes on the beach.
I'm driving, I need to go.
And I was like, and they're like, there's Rob. And I was like, what? Like, I thought it was a pelican. Like, oh my God.
Dude, me and Jeremy got up to the hotel room and I was like, Jeremy, I don't know why something has struck me right now, but I need to go run and jump in that ocean. He's like, fuck it, go jump in the ocean. So I was like, I'm going to jump in the ocean. So I just like ran downstairs and I was like, I'm going to go jump in that ocean. I don't know why. I'm going to go do it though.
Yeah. And I take the first couple days before Daytona to like really channel my inner white mom. And I rent like a very expensive like pool chair with like the easiest umbrella you've ever seen in your entire life, and I read like my romance novels on the beach before I have to like start talking to people. And I was sitting there reading my book, and I was like, "Oh, okay." Hi.
There we go. He's even weirder in person. What the fuck?
As he's running down the beach, you just hear the Reptile Talk podcast intro music.
Yeah, and it's just like you guys speaking in unison, and I'm like, where are they?
It was so weird because, like, Justin Smith is hanging out there. Like, there's so much podcast going on around me right now. What the hell?
Sometimes I'm so embarrassed that I have a podcast. It's like, I don't want to be one of them. I don't want to be one of the podcasters.
Like, hey, I saw your TikTok, and you're like, no, you didn't.
Shut up, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like it. I had a coworker, so I left my job recently, and I got a new job. And I had a coworker come up to me one day at the last job, and he goes, I listened to your podcast, and I was like, oh. And he goes, you guys don't talk about a lot of snakes, and I'm like, you don't have to listen to it.
Yeah.
That was my response is, no, you don't need to listen. It's okay. You don't listen. Like any pride I had was like, no, don't. I don't want your listen. I'm going to delete everything, actually.
That's amazing. I think one of the strangest scenarios I've ever had where somebody's like recognized me from either podcast or YouTube or anything was I drove down when I was in New Hampshire, drove down to Connecticut for a studio session. And it was a fairly mild day, so I had my nerd hoodie on, right? I got my trumpet bag, so you can't see any of the logo or anything like that. I threw my bag on the ground. The bass player was the only other person in the control room. And he like turns around. I put my bag down. He's like, you! And I was like, he's like, you work with that crazy guy with the ponytail on YouTube and you do the things with the snakes. And I was like, no. I'm like, this is this is supposed to be my freedom from that world. Like I've left one world and gone to another. Like these are not supposed to intersect.
My God. Yeah,
I was very much like, no, that's not me.
My favorite thing.
Hold
My favorite thing that's happened though is my cousin, and Kate, I hope you listen to this. I love her so much. She's 15. I've talked about her on my show like a million times because I'm like so excited. She texted me out of the blue like a few months ago, like probably 6 or 7 months ago now, that she's into reptiles. And I like did everything in my power to like bring her to Cincinnati. She lives in New Jersey. They drove down to Cincinnati to see my animals, and like that's when I brought her to the zoo and the aquarium and all that stuff. But like the funniest thing is like she's talking about these people, like the reptile people, like they're actual celebrities. And like I love y'all, you're not celebrities. Like I'm not either. But like Kat Aaliyah. Like I know Aaliyah, you know, we chatted and she was like, no way. I'm like, no, yeah. Like, she's really nice. Like, or like Emily from Snake Discovery. And I'm like, I've spoken with Emily. She's like, no, what? And I'm like, Kate, we're all just nerds. We're just weirdos. Like some people are just better at marketing it than others, you know? Like, don't worry.
It's so true. Some people have found the way to put the bow on the box.
Yeah. You know? Oh man, it's too funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's like it's my favorite thing in the world to like try to explain to other people that like I'm slightly cool in this very, very niche part of the internet. Like the smallest, like the least cool of like the cool places I could be cool in. I'm cool sometimes. But like not even consistently. Like
could that be our like the three of ours next Facebook status is like, yes, I'm cool, but in this very tiny niche of people that are sort of not cool, but also
like
very
no
cool.
one all but like you're only cool if you're in the club where people think it's cool. Everyone else thinks it's like very not cool and probably demonic. And oh my God.
Everyone in my new job calls me Snake Guy behind my back. So
I blur my background. So I sit at this desk for 8 hours and do my little worky thing. I don't really know what I'm doing in life. And I type and answer phone calls and do the thing. And I blur this background. And I had it unblurred for a meeting the other day and I didn't mean to. And it was like with a manager. And he was like, what is that? And I was like, shit. I was like, it's snakes. And he goes, you know, we don't have time for that, but we will talk about that.
That is so awesome. Yeah. I had when I was up north doing my stuff, I spent a couple days teaching at my former high school and whatever, and I didn't realize that in one of the classes, and I wasn't pre-warned either by any of the teachers, that they had been talking me up before I got there or whatever, and one of the kids like Googled me or whatever.
Oh no.
All the snake stuff. I'm like, I'm coming up to teach music, and this person's like, this guy's got a shit ton of snakes. What is we're like in the middle of the class, and at the end of every class they held like a little Q&A for the students to ask me stuff or whatever. And this kid raises his hand and he's like, what's it like with all those snakes in your house? And I was like, what the so caught off guard. And then afterwards, like, yeah, he Googled you. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like when you Googled me like 5 years ago, it was like my academics, it was my LinkedIn, it was like all of these very professional, like awesome things. And like now it's literally like my podcast, my YouTube videos, like, and I'm like, oh no, like they're still relatively professional, but I definitely curse and make some dick jokes. So
you know, it's valid.
Oh man.
You know what? I have not Googled myself in a very long time, so I feel like I need to
right now.
Do it.
While we're
I
on
feel
the
like I don't.
I have a very generic name, so
That's exactly what I was just gonna say. Is like your name is. I don't know. It seems easy. Like
you are the second. You're the second video that pops up. It was your video, your interview with Brian Cusco. What is this? There's another video that says Rob Christian exposed.
I saw that. He's a Muslim warrior. Rob Christian is creating quality content about the true face of Islam.
These are new
you
things.
have another hobby.
Rob? Yeah. Rob Christian music. So apparently you're also a musician and you didn't tell me.
And psychiatry, UNC.
Okay, let's Rob Christian reptiles.
I'm not even on here. This is great.
Wait, now I'm looking at myself. I'm such a narcissist. Like
Okay, here we go. Weird guy with gauges. Oh, look, reptile talk. Yep. Guy with gauges.
So funny.
That'd be it.
That's awesome.
So funny. Oh my gosh. Sometimes I do Google myself and then I go to images and I'm like, you don't need to post everything online. Like you were 14, you did not need a Facebook profile.
I am happy that when I look up Google images for you, Rob, this one comes up.
Just look at that.
Yeah. That was such a great photo. I'm so happy that exists on the internet.
You know what's the best thing is when we show pictures on audio platforms.
Yeah.
Yes. Everybody needs to go Google Rob Christian reptiles and type look at the image section, and it should be like the third or fourth image.
It's me over the alligator at Nerd, and Donnie was like, "Make a face." So I was like, "Oh my god!" Made a big surprise face, and Wally's got her head out of the water with her mouth open. It's just
too good.
That's great.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we are rounding down our time. I want to
chaotic.
more pictures of Rob. That's all I'm saying. I'm going to, and then I'm going to send screenshots to Rob later. So Dominique, we ask all of our guests one final wrap-up question. So that question is, what in the realm of reptiles, be it something you've got going on in your own personal collection or something that you've seen online scouring the interwebs, what in the realm of reptiles has you excited about reptiles?
Oh my. Okay, can I answer with two things?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think the first one is like 1,000% my cousin. Like getting to share this with her has been such like an incredible experience, and getting to be a positive female role model for her within the community has just been like so exciting and so fun for me. And I'm really hoping we can get her to like a show sometime soon and like get her to really like kind of immerse herself into it a little bit more. Unfortunately, she'll only be there during the daytime because I do like to have a beverage or two, and she's 15 and I'm not babysitting. And she's not babysitting me, which is like the bigger thing. That's really exciting. And then personally, and this is lame, but I'm excited. I paired snakes for the first time ever this year, and I have I've got 2 female ball pythons that I believe both are building. So, or potentially already grab it. I don't fully understand what's going on, but they look fat.
Good body shame here, okay?
No one said fat is a bad word. Rob,
you got me there. You got me there.
So no, that's like super exciting. And I've like totally loved this whole other side of it. I'm like learning more about my animals and like really paying attention to behavior more in a way I haven't. And it's just fun, and I hope I get babies, and if I don't, that's fine too. Like it's a learning experience, and I'm enjoying it.
Hell yeah. That's worth that. Just wait, when you see those first babies poking their heads out, that's a wrap. That's the end of.
If you've never been hooked to reptiles before, that's the moment.
I can't. Part of me is like worried, like because part of me is like, you can't keep every baby snake ever.
Rob, even that's not real.
Well, I have a pretty finite amount of space. You can kind of see my room.
That's fair.
So I'm like, and I am one thing, like I am slightly trying to move away from rack systems just personally. Like nothing against them, have worked really well for me in the past, but because I keep a smaller collection, I have a bit of like leverage there to move. And so like that's also keeping me from keeping every animal. But I'm hoping, my goal, we had a pastel double het VPI xanthic and pied. That's one of the females. And the other female is just a het pied, and my male is pied het xanthic. So I'm hoping to maybe get some lightning pieds. That'd be fun. This has been a 3-year project at this point. So
that's a good pair. That is a really good pair. And it's also like one of the greatest feelings ever is like investing all that time to this culminating point and then having that success. You're like, I did the thing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so fun. And it's like, it's cool, and I'm learning so much. I'm asking a lot of questions, and I feel like a kid again. And like Micah had asked earlier in the chat, like if there's any like nervousness around being the new kid on the block, and like totally. I'm only 3 years in. There was like so much nervousness, like starting to like, I don't want to say make a name for myself because I feel like that sounds really cocky, but like there was nervousness around like starting to do things like podcasts in the Facebook group, and like, and this is kind of like a humbling thing where it's like, you haven't even paired snakes before. Like, let's remember that like you're new, like ask questions. And it's reminding me to ask my questions, like check humility, check like my pride at the door, and like, you know, just like enjoy this experience. And I really have been.
Heck yeah. I'm so here for that.
Me too. It's every time that you pass a new milestone, it refreshes things just a little bit. So I think you know, once you get to that next step, and then that next step is just like, I don't know, like I said, when you see a little baby snake poking its nose out of an egg, or seeing a live birth or something, you are a different person before you have that happen for the first time, and then after that happens, you're a completely different person.
I will say though, you know, the mites milestone was not a fun one. It was a necessary one, but that one sucked. No pun intended. The mites sucked.
Yeah. No, that one definitely sucks. Yeah.
Well, if people want to find out more about you and the things that you're doing, where should they look you up?
So I'm on Facebook and Instagram at DiFalco Reptiles. Instagram's definitely the better way to get in touch with me. If you are a female or non-binary person who wants to be involved in our Facebook group, it's Female Herpers and Reptile Keepers. And then my podcast is the Modern Medusa podcast. And I just put out a new episode today for the first time in a while, and it felt really good. But it's like, I like truly love this episode. We talked about mosquitoes, and I spoke with Nicole Tam, who did like research on like bloodborne pathogens and mosquitoes, and then also like reproduction of the tsetse fly. And like, I didn't know that flies had uteruses, and they do. And we talked about that, and we talked about fly milk, and it's gross but very interesting.
So. Now I'm just grossed out enough to be intrigued, and now we'll have to listen to this.
so this is like going back to me having like not listened to my episodes in forever. Like I forgot about this conversation, and I was literally sitting there last night like, that's disgusting. That is horrifying, but so interesting. But no, but I just I do want to, like, before we cut off, to say thanks so much for having me, guys. It's like truly such a pleasure to be your friend, to have you in my network, and to see the great things you guys are doing for the hobby. So thank you so much.
We're trying. We appreciate you coming on. It's been a great conversation, and look forward to seeing you at Daytona. We talk anyway, but looking forward to seeing you at Daytona and hanging out again. So
it'd be so fun.
Yes.
Jeremy, if people want to find out more about you, where are they going to go?
You can literally go everywhere, because as I say all the time, I'm a slave to social media. So at Brassman Reptiles on TikTok, Instagram, obviously YouTube. If you guys are watching, you already know that. Facebook for sure as well. You won't find Brassman Reptiles on LinkedIn, so don't look there unless you want to hire me as a musician. Just Google me. What about you, Rob? Where can people find out more about you?
Mine is a grinder. also Craigslist. What is it? Seeking connections.
No,
Oh, boy.
it is over. Fuck you, Rob. Nobody's gonna know where to find you now. That is amazing. Wow.
Oh my god.
Find Rob on Twitter. No, Rob, where can they really find you?
You can find me on Craigslist under Velociraptor searching for Velociraptor.
Open to Stegosaurus on occasion.
Occasionally. Dimetrodons, we try and keep it sleek. Yeah, Rob is creeping a reel on Instagram and TikTok. That's pretty much it. Don't look me up on Facebook because I don't add most people on Facebook. I got 1,000 people my friend request queue on Facebook, so don't add me on it.
It's so hard to be cool, guys. Like,
no, that's not cool. That's not cool. It's
cool at all.
It's horrible because I look at it and I'm like, I should add a couple of these people, and then I click on a profile and I scroll for a little bit and I see some like really crazy shit, and I'm like, I don't even know why I looked at that. I need to go away from this.
Oh gosh. Oh.
And make sure you follow Reptile Talk on Instagram.
Yes.
Reptile.talk. And then make sure you check out the Modern Medusa podcast on all podcast platforms and on Instagram.
The links are updated on that because for some reason they didn't transfer over. So I'll make sure all the links are on the YouTube video and the Facebooks and all that nonsense. So yes.
Hell yeah. This is a great episode.
Guys.
Sweet.
Appreciate you.
We'll see you later.
Bye.